Do I even have to ask you who's your prediction for this matchup?
My prediction is Stefano for this match.
Knew it.
Knew it. Stefano's CVP is outrageous.
Yes.
Not only has he pioneered a different style, he has actually been adapting it. You know, Stefano has been normally getting like all these kind of drones and trying to get his roach upgrades, but now he's been mixing in the different kinds of styles. He's been getting Zergling speed a lot earlier, and he's been trying to really play with some timings. And what's really cool is not only that he's been trying to incorporate his aggressive timing with roaches, but he's been defending 2 base timings like an animal. Just like MC's been trying to all in him, and back at Red Bull, of course, MC did win that series, but Stefano shows lots of resilience, and it's just because of people like Stefano, like DRG, Protosses are just becoming less encouraged to 2-base, and they've been trying to play macro, but that's where other players like Stefano shine.
Yeah.
So it's just like you can't win with this guy. Like, oh, you can't kill him early before he macros, but if you let him macro, he's scary.
It's actually really cool to watch his style be very successful, and then DRG's style be very successful, because they have complete opposite
DRG style for
styles.
A long time.
Okay, let's talk. No, let's introduce Nightend as well. Let's talk about him. He is a Fnatic player training in Korea right now, and let's be honest. Nightend has been under everybody's radar, but he's really. Oh, you're talking about the chat?
Yeah, sorry.
He's been under everybody's radar, but he's been really, really impressive in the NASL Season 3.
Yeah, and you know, Nightend, he's at 3-3. He still has to play a series against Puma, and who knows if Nightend wins this series and he wins the series with Puma, all of a sudden him and Stefano are tied. Nightend takes number 2 in the division.
Yes.
That could swing in an incredible fashion. People will be like, well, what is this? Who is Nightend? And Nightend's just been this Protoss training in Korea with his friend Todd. Or Todd, depending on who you thought, Le Todd. And Nightend's just been keeping his head under his hat and working really hard. Nightend has had some moments of brilliance, and also moments where it just seems like he completely collapsed. Like when he played against Braddock, I was just like, wow, there's just times where Nightend
I think his
PVT
PVT is significantly worse than his PVZ. I think his PVZ is great. We had those amazing matches with him and Zenio, I believe.
Yeah.
And wow, that's all I have to say. Absolutely brilliant series. Definitely check that out on YouTube, youtube.com/NAStarLeague. But Nightend likes to play into those macro games, and Stefano, I'm sure, will oblige to that in here on Bel'Shir Beach.
Stefano getting his 3rd hatchery at pretty standard times before 4:30 mark. You can see that Stefano's playing really greedy. 2 Zerglings, my goodness. And he's also teasing Nightend, saying, you know, like, oh, you don't think Zerg is stronger than Protoss. And, you know, both players are just having a little friendly banter. But that brings up an interesting question, Andre. In the current metagame, we've been talking about this with Sheth, and we talk about this with some of the players that visit our studio. But how do you feel in terms of the strength of certain races at different points of the game?
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think Zergs normally have the advantage going into the what am I trying to say? The mid-game stages. Excuse me. The mid-game stages, even though 2-base all-ins from Protoss have been very relevant and very, very strong against Zergs, I still feel like that's where Zerg shines the best. They're able to switch up. That's where their lair tech can kick in. It's the roaches into mutas or vice versa, or Zerglings into mutas and vice versa. And that's the style that I really like to see. And just stressing the Protoss as much as possible. That's the stage where I think Zergs need to actually accomplish something, get an advantage economically, whether it be composition, something or another. They need to get ahead, because the end game stage where Protoss has Colossus, High Templars, Archons, and the Mothership is one of the hardest stages, I think, for Zerg, even though they have, you know, not Motherships, Broodlords and Infestors. Just the correct control and compositions and little strategies that you can do with War Prisms can always outposition the Zerg.
You see Stefano just droning out very calmly, getting gas at 6 minutes, very standard.
Yeah.
Now, Stefano's been trying to delay his Roach Warren. Normally, you would see him go for it around the 6:45 mark, but he's been flirting with just playing a little bit greedier. You can see getting it at 7 minutes. So Stefano has been trying to really sneak in just a little bit extra to catch ahead, and that's kind of cool because, again, that's just Stefano playing with his own builds.
Yeah, I think it's because this Overlord is Beautiful. It sees not only the forge, but it also sees the robotics facility. That gives them the indication to actually tech to lair before anything else. But Frodan, you know, I gave my spiel about it. What do you think about PvZ in this current metagame and where they're strong?
I think what's so interesting is that because 2 bases haven't been working, you know, there's been people trying to experiment with 8 gates, with, you know, immortal timings. Red made a huge tweet about, you know, how just immortal timings every single time, but even those are starting to fall out of favor slowly unless you're playing on a map like Metropolis. And so Protoss has been trying to go for a fast third around 8.5 minutes, 9 minutes in the game, and as a result, it's been really stretching themselves out thin. I feel like that's making themselves almost too vulnerable because already Zerg's allowed to drone up. Stefano's already at 65. And he still has a little bit of room to sneak in a couple more drones because Warp Gate is just finishing. So you can see that even though Stefano is playing pretty greedy, he still has even a little bit more room to be greedy.
Oh, yeah.
And Nightend hasn't even tried to move out to take a 3rd base yet.
I mean, if you want to, you can go up to a full 90 drones. That's the maximum amount of drones that you can off of 3 bases. And then start making units. I don't think we'll see that. He needs to make some units right now. But the fact of the matter is, he's up to 65 harvesters.
Yeah.
He's been able to do that easily. He hasn't been harassed at all. He's up to 4 gases right now. He can easily transition into a lot of different things, but this is where Stefano normally masses with a ton of roaches.
Yeah.
Roaches, Zerglings, upgrades, and he just puts the pressure on his opponent. We'll see if Nightend crumbles under this force, or if he actually stays alive. He is known for having very good micro at this point in time.
This is what I'm talking about, though. The 9-minute fast expand to the 3rd from Protoss, and they try to defend with Sentry Immortal. I mean, I'm confused that Nightend didn't get Hallucination as well to really keep track, because the biggest threat to this is the fact that Immortals and Sentries are slow. You're not able to really get in position unless you really can see it coming. And so you can see Nightend's already trying to get into the position to defend his 3rd, but one Immortal's already out of... out there. Okay, no, just kidding. He got him together. That could have been really bad.
Ooh.
But this timing from Stefano could be really devastating. Look, he's trying to go from 3 different avenues, and Nightend might have a hard time defending on 3 different fronts.
Look at this. 2 Immortals on the right-hand side are going to get picked off here. But in the meantime, those roaches are actually segmented off. Very nice job so far by Nightend. I can't believe he actually was able to defend against that. But a lot of sentry energy has been used from that engagement. And now another round of units coming in here. He's going to try to target down the Immortal first, not the sentries. Wow.
Whoa, sick targeting from Stefano. He knew that Immortal was about to die, so he made his roach target something else while letting 1 auto attack. You can see Stefano now really disabling Nightend's ability to really fortify his front with the Immortals, and he's targeting them down, but it might be really close. Don't know if Stefano can get it. He's going to pull out just in time. Stefano does have more reinforcements on the way, intent on breaking this 3rd, and we've seen it countless times. If Stefano can disable this 3rd, then Protoss will be completely stifled in the mid-game, and shutting down the sentry energy is so vital. Nightend is Immortal also trying to get into the battle, and it's coming down to the last few units, but the last Immortal will drop other than this reinforcement point. Nightend does have +1/+1, but Stefano still reinforcing, and I mean, I guess Stefano does end up pulling back the aggression just for a little bit, but at this point, Stefano, he whittled down the entire army. This is a great position for him.
Yeah, with the 2 additional cannons over there, it will stabilize it a little bit, but the Immortal gets taken out, and Stefano is going to move into the natural. Absolutely fantastic play coming out from good game, well played.
Yeah.
Gets called, Nightend will fall.
GGWP. Stefano takes game number 1 in the pretty much textbook Stefano's ZVP. If there's any game that I can ever summarize about how Stefano executes and plays, it's pretty much that game.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, how does Stefano play? Well, just show him that game.
Yeah, it's just
pretty
standard, right? Like, it's Roach Zergling, Roach Zergling pressure, and he just gets stuff done with it when other Zerg players are just like, I don't know how you just did that.
It brings up an interesting thing, though. Should Protoss be going for that faster? Well, I think it's a map-dependent thing. But also, I think, again, if you go for that, you need to get into the position, because like, Nightend was able to really micro well in such small packs of units. Immortals are so effective in small packs, and that's so Nightend was really able to capitalize on that. But more importantly, I think if he was able to catch the sight of the roaches, he'd be able to set up with his Immortals, knows which avenues to shut down, protect the ramp, make sure they can't run by, and protect his 3rd. And if Protoss gets his 3rd, while Stefano's still on 65 drones and no real tech, then all of a sudden the game's a lot different, and that's how people have been defending against this style.
Yeah, one way he can actually mind game his opponent is to actually push out to the Zelnaga tower and just sit there a little bit. And Stefano will normally take about 30 seconds to actually adjust and say, is this an all-in or not? And once you realize that it's not an all-in, well, those 30 seconds actually let you get that cannon up or let you get sentries in positions. So just these little alterations to Nightend's build, I think, would have allowed him to stabilize a little bit. Doesn't mean he would have won there, just stayed alive and gone a little bit further into Bel'Shir Beach.
Could have been a different game, but until then, we want to thank our sponsors, iBuyPower, for that game number 1 on Bel'Shir Beach. And pretty much check them out, iBuyPower.com. They sponsored MLG, they sponsor us here. Guys, we'll be back with game number 2 between Nightend and Stefano. Don't go anywhere. Another game when we return.